Imagine returning to a place that shaped your childhood, a place filled with memories of laughter, learning, and early dreams. Now imagine standing there as a leader of thousands, carrying a responsibility that is both sacred and life-changing. This is the story of Dallin H. and his first temple dedication as president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This story is not just about a building. It is about faith, hope, and a personal journey that began decades ago. It is about a dream quietly growing in one man's heart, a dream that would inspire a community and touch countless lives. Dallin H. grew up in Twin Falls, Idaho. At that time, he could never have imagined the path his life would take. From humble beginnings to national service, from law and leadership to guiding millions in their faith, his journey is remarkable. And now, he would return to Idaho in a role that no one in his childhood circle could have predicted. But what makes this story even more extraordinary is what happened inside the temple that day. A moment of quiet reflection, a feeling so powerful that it left even the most experienced leaders in wonder. That moment is something we will reveal later in this video. And trust me, it is not something you want to miss. You will also hear about the community's excitement, the anticipation of people who waited years for this temple, and the way one man's life connected with a sacred mission. This dedication shows how faith and leadership can come together to create something truly inspiring. And there is one more part, a story deeply personal to Dallin H. showing why this temple is not just a building, but a piece of his own life. That story is coming soon. For now, let's begin by exploring the early days that shaped him and led to this historic moment. Dallin H. was born and raised in Twin Falls, Idaho, a quiet town surrounded by fields, rivers, and mountains. As a child, he loved exploring the outdoors, reading books, and learning from his family. These early years were simple but full of lessons that shaped his character. Even as a boy, Dallin was curious and thoughtful. He asked questions about life and faith, and his parents encouraged him to work hard, be honest, and serve others. These values became the foundation for everything he would do later. In school, he was a dedicated student who wanted to understand the world around him. Teachers remember him as respectful, kind, and determined, qualities that guided him as he grew into a young man ready for responsibility. What made Twin Falls special for Dallin was the community and the church. Even as a child, he felt the warmth of people coming together and helping each other. Little did he know, this connection to Idaho would come full circle decades later. As a teenager, Dallin began to think more deeply about faith and purpose. He attended church regularly and observed how sacred spaces brought people together. These experiences planted the seeds of what he would one day understand more fully as a temple president. Looking back, it is clear that his time in Idaho shaped his heart and mind. The values he learned and the people he met stayed with him throughout his life. Later, when he walked into the Burley, Idaho temple for the first time as president, he felt a connection to this place unlike any other, and something happened inside that temple that touched him so deeply. It became one of the most important moments of his life. We will share exactly what that moment was a little later in this video. After growing up in Idaho, Dallin H. pursued a life of service, learning, and leadership. He studied law and quickly gained respect for his intelligence, fairness, and dedication. His career in the legal world was impressive, but he always balanced professional success with a commitment to faith and helping others. As he advanced in his career, Dallin also took on responsibilities within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He served in many important roles, learning from other leaders and guiding communities with wisdom and care. His calm presence, clear thinking, and compassion made him a trusted figure to members around the world. Over the years, Dallin was called to serve in higher positions within the church, each role preparing him for something greater. Every challenge he faced taught him lessons about patience, faith, and leadership. These experiences shaped the man who would one day become president of the church. When he was called as president in October 2025, it was a moment of honor and responsibility unlike any other. Suddenly, the decisions he made and the guidance he gave affected millions of people around the globe. Yet, even with this immense responsibility, Dallin remained humble, grounded, and focused on the teachings of Jesus Christ. As president, one of his first major responsibilities was to dedicate new temples. This was a role he had prepared for his entire life, blending his personal experiences, professional wisdom, and spiritual devotion. He understood that a temple is not just a building, it is a place where people come to strengthen their faith and find hope. And then came the opportunity to dedicate the Burley, Idaho temple, in the very state where his life began. Returning to Idaho in this role was deeply personal for him. The day of the dedication would be historic, not only for the community, but for Dallin himself. What he experienced inside the temple was something he had never felt before, a moment so powerful it left a mark on his heart forever. In April 2021, the church made an exciting announcement. A new temple would be built in Burley, Idaho. For members in southern Idaho, this news was life-changing. A temple is a sacred place, and now families would have a nearby location for worship, prayer, and important ceremonies. The announcement brought hope and anticipation to thousands of people. The planning process for the temple began almost immediately. Architects, designers, and church leaders worked together to ensure the building would be both beautiful and meaningful. Every detail was carefully considered, from the design of the spire to the interior spaces where members would gather for sacred ordinances. This temple was not only functional but designed to inspire reverence and peace. The community in Burley and surrounding towns was filled with excitement. Local members shared stories of how they had traveled long distances to visit other temples. Now, a temple in their own area meant easier access, more frequent visits, and a chance for families to worship together. The announcement sparked a wave of anticipation, and everyone eagerly awaited the day construction would begin. As the months passed, the project moved forward. Land was prepared. Materials were gathered, and construction crews began bringing the temple to life. Members watched the progress with wonder, sharing updates and celebrating milestones. Social media, local news, and church newsletters documented the growth of this sacred building. The excitement continued to build, not just for the structure itself, but for the spiritual opportunities it would offer once completed. Throughout the planning and construction, the temple became more than just a building. It became a symbol of faith, unity, and devotion for the local community. Leaders often spoke about how temples serve as houses of the Lord, places where people can seek guidance, find strength, and connect with God. Every step of the planning reinforced the sacredness of the project. And finally, after years of careful planning, the temple was ready for the public. But the most special moment was still ahead, the dedication day, when Dallin H himself would return to Idaho to dedicate the temple. What he experienced during that dedication, an emotional, spiritual, and historic moment, is a story we will reveal in the next segment, and it is something no one present will ever forget. Before a temple can be dedicated, it is open to the public for a special event called the Open House. For the Burley, Idaho temple, this was a moment of excitement and wonder. Thousands of people, both members and visitors, walked through the doors, eager to experience this sacred place. People were struck by the beauty of the design and the peaceful feeling inside. Many said the temple made them feel closer to God even on their first visit. Families, young adults, and children were inspired by the spaces created for worship and reflection. Community members shared stories about their anticipation. Some had traveled long distances to see the temple. Others were thrilled to finally have a sacred place nearby. The open house became more than a tour. It was a celebration of faith, community, and hope. Volunteers, church leaders, and members all came together to welcome visitors. Their pride and joy were visible in every smile and every conversation. It showed how much this temple already meant to the people. As the open house ended, attention turned to the upcoming dedication day. Everyone wondered what it would be like, and the excitement was building, not only in the community, but also in Dallin H, who would soon lead this historic event. And then came the day everyone had been waiting for. Inside the temple, Dallin H experienced a moment of faith and inspiration that few could describe, a moment that would remain with him forever. The day of the dedication had finally arrived. The Burley, Idaho temple stood complete, ready to welcome members for the sacred ceremony. For the local community, it was a day they had been waiting for years. For Dallin H, it was a moment that combined history, faith, and personal meaning. As president, Dallin H entered the temple with a quiet confidence, knowing the significance of the work he was about to perform. The dedication of a temple is one of the highest responsibilities in the church. It is a moment when sacred prayers are offered, blessings are given, and the building is officially set apart for the service of God. In his dedicatory prayer, Oakes spoke with deep reverence. He asked for guidance, protection, and spiritual strength for all who would enter the temple. He prayed that the temple would be a place of learning, peace, and inspiration. Every word reflected his understanding of the importance of this sacred space, and his hope that it would bless countless lives for generations. As members listened, many were moved to tears. The room was filled with a quiet sense of wonder, a recognition that something extraordinary was happening. The prayers and words were not just for the present moment. They were meant to reach far into the future, touching people who had yet to enter the temple. One of the most remarkable parts of the ceremony was the personal reflection of Dallin H. Standing in the place where he had imagined as a child that temples could inspire faith, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The combination of memory, responsibility, and spiritual connection created a feeling unlike any other, a feeling that he would carry with him forever. During the dedication, Oakes also spoke about the role of temples in strengthening families and communities. He emphasized how temples are places where individuals can find guidance in difficult times, experience peace, and grow closer to God. His words reminded everyone present that the temple is not just a building, it is a living, sacred place where faith is renewed. As the ceremony concluded, members were invited to participate in the sacred ordinances. There was a quiet sense of joy and fulfillment. The temple, now officially dedicated, was ready to serve the community and stand as a symbol of devotion and hope. And yet, for Dallin H. There was one moment that stood above all others. A moment of quiet reflection, so powerful that it touched his heart in a way he had never experienced before. It was a combination of personal memory, spiritual connection, and the knowledge that generations to come would be blessed by this temple. This moment is something few have witnessed, and it is a story that will be remembered for years to come. From that day forward, the Burley, Idaho temple was no longer just a building. It was a beacon of faith, a source of hope, and a place where lives would be changed. And while many experienced the ceremony, the personal connection that Dallin H. felt remained a private, sacred memory, a reminder of why he has dedicated his life to service and faith. After the dedication, Dallin H. took a quiet moment to reflect on what had just happened. Standing in the temple, he felt the weight of the responsibility he carried as a leader, and the deep connection he had to this place. It was a reminder that leadership is not only about guiding others, but also about serving with humility and faith. He thought about the members who had traveled long distances, some for the very first time, to experience the temple. He thought about the families who would return year after year, finding peace, guidance, and strength within these walls. For him, it was clear that the temple would touch lives in ways that cannot be measured, inspiring hope, faith, and love. In his reflections, Oakes also considered the importance of personal spiritual growth. He spoke quietly about how temples are not only for communal worship, but also for personal revelation and understanding. Each person who enters brings their own questions, struggles, and hopes, and the temple provides guidance and clarity for the journey ahead. Beyond personal reflection, Oakes shared a simple but powerful message for the community: that faith requires action, that service brings fulfillment, and that love and compassion are at the center of every spiritual journey. His words reminded everyone that temples are not just buildings. They are places where hearts are strengthened, families are united, and communities are uplifted. As he looked around, Oakes saw people who were inspired, moved, and sometimes in tears. He knew that the impact of this temple would last long after the dedication day. The lessons learned, the hope given, and the connections made would stay with people for generations to come. And finally, he reflected on his own life, the journey from a young boy in Idaho to the leader who dedicated this sacred space. Every challenge, every moment of learning, and every step of faith had led to this. The Burley, Idaho temple was more than a building. It was a testament to commitment, service, and unwavering faith. And in that moment, Oakes understood something that words cannot fully capture. The true power of faith lies not only in the work we do, but in the love and devotion we share with others. The Burley, Idaho temple now stands as a symbol of faith, hope, and service. For the community, it is a place where families can gather, where individuals can find guidance, and where generations will feel the power of devotion and love. It is a place that will continue to inspire, comfort, and strengthen hearts for years to come. For Dallin H. Oakes, this temple represents more than just a milestone in his leadership. It reflects a lifetime of dedication, learning, and spiritual growth. It shows what can happen when commitment meets faith, when service meets purpose, and when a vision becomes reality. As we look back on this journey, from the announcement, to the construction, to the open house, and finally to the dedication, we see a story of community, devotion, and the enduring power of belief. Every stone, every detail, and every prayer has contributed to something that will last for generations. The Burley, Idaho temple is now a beacon. It reminds us that faith is alive in every heart willing to seek it, that service can touch countless lives, and that sacred places connect us to something far greater than ourselves. And in that connection, we find strength, hope, and a sense of purpose that carries us forward. Thank you for joining us on this journey. The story of Dallin H. Oakes and the Burley, Idaho temple is a reminder that even one life, guided by faith and devotion, can leave a legacy that inspires the world.